All right, we're live. Ask Me Anything AMA. We've got this was actually one of our benchmarks for KFC Radio subscribers. So every 10,000 subscribers, we promised some piece of content. This one was actually a little bit late. This was our 70,000 subscriber benchmark. 80,000 subscribers was the Jackie and Pabs rap, swimming, and Googling triathlon. So we're going to do, so in order for me to force them to do their triathlon, I had to get mine done. So we're doing an AMA here. I did one on Barstool Gold. What was that? I don't know, like 4 years ago, whenever Barstool Gold was. But that was only for behind the paywall. So this is my first AMA for the Barstool fans done publicly. If you are watching and you want to submit a question, you got to be subscribed. You can see it on the little ticker down there below. So log in, subscribe. If you're not a usual YouTube user, you can just use your Gmail account to log in and become a subscriber. So we'll answer some questions. We'll chop it up. I just put out a 1 Minute Man today talking about Jay-Z. Jay-Z spoke up and said he doesn't think anybody in the rap world could beat him in a versus. And so now I'm going to spend the rest of my night arguing about hip hop. So if you want to talk about that, leave a comment. You want to ask about pretty much anything, I don't really give a fuck anymore. It's all no holds barred. So let's get into it. I'll go back up towards the top where the first questions rolled in. Start with Matthew here. Do you think Barstool will survive a post Dave KFC Big Cat? I think that we've already kind of shown that we can do that. We are doing that. We've all kind of transitioned. It used to be, every day the three of us on the rundown, and then we've all kind of like slowly split off to the point that we have now seen that we can do like three people putting on funny, good quality rundowns every day. Whether one of us is involved, two of us is involved, none of us are involved. So I think on things like that, we've already shown it. I think that we've put together a lot of content that I think can show. We do a lot of content now that showcases everybody, from Friday Night Pints and Lowering the Bar, the new rundowns, Behind the Blog. The Yak has a huge crew of people. Like, it's really not reliant. It's not really top heavy anymore. I think it kind of used to be in the early days of expansion. But I think, if anything, we've added tons of females. We've added tons of young people. I think some of the funniest guys are the younger people in the company. So I think that we're already showing that we can do that. I think it will be totally fine if that even happens. I feel like there's no reason to think that this era will come to a close really anytime soon, because at the end of the day, it's the best place to make the most money and have the most freedom. So as long as that continues to be the case, I don't see a reason why there will be a post Dave KFC Big Cat era. Justin Reed, do you ever look at some present day Barstool content and think this is really bad? Sure. That's also part of the process. We've expanded so much that we now have shows, videos, podcasts, blogs that are for a completely different demographic than when we started. When Barstool first started, as much as we were our own guys, we were our own people, we were the same guy, we were all just Northeast guys who talk loud, talk fast, and argue too much. And we all just watched sports. We all had our own opinions. We had different personalities, but we, at the end of the day, we're just like the same guys from the same demo. Now, like I said, we've added a lot of different people from different generations, from different walks of life, different content types. And so, yeah, there are definitely times, I see the people who say not my Barstool, and I definitely feel that. I probably feel it more than anybody with some of the shit that I want to do on 1 Minute Man specifically that gets rejected a lot, only because we have to play by different rules now. We're at the mercy of a lot of these platforms, whether it's the social media platforms or the streaming services, video platforms, where we have to play by their rules, or they suppress all your content and you get shadow banned and your views are down. So what's the fucking point of even doing it if nobody's going to get to see it? It's like, I can still do these topics and make the jokes I want, but if nobody's going to see it, then what's the fucking point of even doing it? So I definitely understand the not my Barstool, because we used to just be able to let it fucking absolutely fly. And now between the world changing and Barstool changing, there's definitely times content's up there that I'm like, whoa, that is not for me. Not necessarily that it's bad, or I guess I should say it's not objectively bad. Like I personally might think something's bad, but I think it's still like of a quality level of work that the people who like that will find that to be good. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we put anything out there that's like objectively sloppy or poorly done or lazy. I think everybody here still works hard. It's just that it depends on if it's your cup of tea or not. Very rarely will I see something and I'm just like, that was shit. And it's happened. I don't have any examples on the top of my head. There's definitely been times where I have been like, holy fuck, that would never have flown in, the era of like when there was just 5 of us, where it was just all like top quality content all the time. But for the most part, I think everything is quality wise good, but there are certain things that I'm like, I would never listen to this, watch this, or care about this in a million years. But there's a whole new sect of stoolies, readers, viewers, watchers that do love that. So that's what happens when you become like a major media fucking conglomerate. There's going to be new stuff. Ryan Dempsey, we go back to having a TV segment. TV has always been a problem in that I don't know how to tackle TV without either A, doing spoilers, which can drastically limit your audience, which at this stage of the game, I really am just trying to be as successful and profitable and make as much money as I can and entertain as many people as I can. So it's like, if I'm going to limit my pool of people to the only, the handful of people who have watched this episode or seen this movie, it doesn't really make sense. Or I have to tiptoe around the content without talking about the spoilers, which is like, then that's just shitty content. But it is something I like will do somehow, some way, whether whenever, as soon as I have enough time, if something comes to an end, if certain content phases out, if there is a post Barstool for me, I feel like television is almost my sports at this point, my gambling, my teams. I'll still always cover the Mets, but as far as like covering sports the way we used to, I would rather talk about television shows. And, there's obviously a huge market for that, but it's kind of difficult. Like I said, how do you tackle it? And right now, we tried it a couple different times where we had the watch list and we had binge and we've done TV stuff before, and it just never took off quite the way we wanted it to because we were always faced with that awkward challenge. And then do you just pick one show? It's like, if you don't watch Always Sunny, then why can I can't do a whole podcast about that. There's only 20% or 15% of my readers and viewers watch that. So you got to cover everything, and then it kind of gets watered down. It's tough. So it's something that I want to do, but it's difficult to navigate. Let's see. Abby asked me, what's one piece of content I've created that I'm most proud of? What I really wish I could do, if I could like snap my fingers and make one thing be super profitable, tons of sponsors, everybody watches it, so that I could justify doing all of just that, it would be storyboards. And I know there's like probably a ton of you who don't even know what storyboards is, but storyboards, it's still a podcast channel. If you look it up, Barstool Storyboards. I had this idea back in the day before like anybody was really doing it, which was basically 30 for 30s, but podcast forums. I called them DocuPods. And since then, a lot of people have done them, even including 30 for 30. They now do podcasts. But, I was so early on podcasting that I was like, why don't we take documentary type topics, make this a polished production where I use sound clips and music and audio, kind of like when you listen to true crime podcasts and you have more production value, listen to Kirk Minahan's The Case, but it was individual topics. So I did one on A-Rod and just the enigma of a player that he is. I did one on James Dolan. I did one on Dave Chappelle and his comeback. And so they're all the things that I'm most like interested in. And I write a script and I get the production value up and I create these little mini documentaries, but there just was never enough of an audience to really get to make enough money and to justify doing them. But those are what I'm always most proud of, because I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy being funny and making people laugh and having these ridiculous conversations. But I feel like, my best skill has always been and will always be writing. And it's hard to continue to blog as much as we used to, because again, it's all about profitability and reaching the most people in the most efficient ways. But when I write these scripts, I get to still use my writing chops, and then I get to do the podcasting part side of me, and then I have the best producers in the world who can put it together and really create something special. The last one we did was on Dennis Rodman, and we made a web page, like a landing page as well. So there was video clips, there was an audio podcast, and there was a blog written by me. So it was like a 360 all-encompassing piece of content. And I was like, this is what I want to do, because that's all of my skills at Barstool put together would be storyboards. Also, behind the blog, I think, is one of my favorite things. Putting on like the new generation, or the lesser known bloggers who I think are really talented. I'm always really proud of that. And Answer the Internet, I think, has been probably the biggest contribution that I think can live on forever. While, of course, just loving KFC Radio as being like my favorite and first. All right, let's get personal. Ed asked me, so I get it, you're not rich. What's the deal with you waiting for your payout? Are you part of the option for Penn to buy Barstool completely? So still confirmed poor, relatively speaking. Get paid very, very genuine, very, very handsomely by Barstool. Also, just as my money and salary has gone up in life, so have my bills. I'm divorced, got an ex-wife, got 2 kids, live in Westchester, New York. So it's not poor. It's just I got a fuck ton of bills to pay. Definitely thinking back to like when I was like mid-20s, like the amount of disposable income I had back then, far, far better, more fun than it is now. I will my Barstool equity vests next year, end of 2022. So we are finally getting to the finish line. We're in the red zone, let's say. I just got to make it another year. Now, knowing the KFC mush, I'll get hit by lightning. Barstool will get canceled. Penn, coronavirus will end all casinos or something. Fucking knock on wood. But I got to get to that finish line next year. Because I'm not a gambler, I was not given much Penn stock when the deal was initially done. I have a little bit, but nothing that was like life-changing. So I think where the other guys really cleaned up right off the bat with the Penn deal, I did not. I had to wait. Finally getting there. So got to wait a little longer, and then I'll be hopefully be rich finally. Do you think you'll ever bring back a third host to KFC Radio? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary. Although every now and then we have a guest or a Barstool personality. Like, I shouldn't say no that quickly. Like, if you told me that for some reason Foreplay disintegrated and Frankie Borelli wanted to stay at Barstool and still do a podcast, I would slide him right in on KFC Radio. He fits, perfectly. We've had a couple Barstool guests in the past that have always worked, seamlessly. I still believe to this day that me, Dan, and Fights together, when we were all firing on all cylinders, I think was the funniest podcast Barstool's like ever put out. I get that Dan wanted to go a different direction. And then, of course, once Pardon My Take really blew up, he wasn't going to do KFC Radio. But when all three of us were cooking, I feel like that could have been and should have just been called like the Barstool Sports Podcast. And I just threw KFC Radio as a name because at the time I didn't know what to call it. Never thought it was going to really be what it was. I was like, I'll just slap my name on it. I thought of it as like WFAN or, like every radio station, WEEI. I was like KFC. Just threw up my name as the call letters. It's the worst named podcast in the world, by the way. I hate it. I can't stand it. Nobody understands it. It's so antiquated, but whatever. It's too late. Everybody knows that as the name now. But I think if we called that the Barstool Sports Podcast and the three of us stayed together, that could have been, as successful as any other show. But what I liked about when Dan was on it, it took a different direction. It was like so ridiculous and outlandish. And it was always Dan being ultra self-confident in ridiculous scenarios. And me and John were like talking him off the ledge or arguing with him. And then when it became the 2-man show, it just became much more me and fights where we're able to still do all the ridiculousness of voicemails, but we were able to like talk much more and get much deeper and have our our real personality shine more. And that's what the show has become. So there are definitely people who fit. If there was some need to do it, we could, but I don't really see the need. So I don't think there's really much reason for it. I see John's joined the chat. You fucking son of a bitch. Let's see. Clem behind the blog, no doubt will come one day. I want to touch upon everybody with behind the blog. The problem is behind the blog is finite. There's only a certain amount of people, and certainly we hope we continue to hire more people that that join that are interesting enough really to do it. But as it stands right now, there's like, I don't know off the top of my head, 15 or maybe 20 people that I really want to dig into and want to like show to the world. And Clem is certainly one of them. Clem is a dude, the guy that I most identify with at Barstool. Like, we would be friends in real life. We had the same upbringing. He's a couple years older than me, but we're from the same place relatively in New York. We have the same interests, the same likes. We grew up watching the same things, listening to the same music. So he's just like my guy for life. And yes, there will definitely be a behind the blog on him one day. But I can't just rip through everybody and then what? Then we're out, So got to pick and choose. Certain people go viral, or like Brianna like blew up. I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's do her right now and ride her wave. Or Biz was in town, we got to do him. So sometimes it's just serendipity. Other times I want to plan out. I want to like have a finale with Feidelberg, or Dave. Would obviously be the finale if he'd ever be down to do it. So things like that, I got to plan it out kind of accordingly. What's with the lack of Canadian store KFC product? I don't think any of our store goes to Canada, so I don't know. So sorry, bro. Let's see. Like I just said, would you get Portnoy on your pod as a guest, and would you be comfortable slotting him in? I would. I mean, I would love to do it. I want to do it almost maybe as not a finale, but like maybe when the payout happens, or if there's somebody retires or moves on or whatever. I think I'd love to have like one all-encompassing sit down. I don't think it makes much sense to just have Dave on to like do voicemails with us and answer "Am I the asshole?" and all that. We've never really jived. Even the one time he was on KFC radio, I think he was like, I hate this. He doesn't like doing hypotheticals. He likes to talk about like business and himself. And I don't think he likes to do what we do on the show. So I don't think it makes much sense for him to come on and do that. Although things have changed, like he wasn't really into podcasting and now finally has like joined the podcast game. But somebody just donated $5 for this question, so I'll get that guy. If you want to donate money, I will certainly put you on if you want to pay to get your question on. No doubt about it. But where was I? With Dave, so I would do a sit down with him that's like, let's talk about like our history at Barstool and let's air out our differences, or talk about some behind the scenes things, or reveal some shit that people don't know, or whatever. It probably would be like a little uncomfortable, at least for me. He would do it. If he did it, I don't think he would care. But I think it would be like awkward for sure, because even when we did content together, the Rundown and radio, we did it for years, but it was always kind of like me directing traffic and just asking him questions while he still was like the focal point. Whereas I think if we did like the real sit down and it was like 50-50 back and forth, I don't think, we've ever really done anything like that. Do I click this $5 up here? Is that where? Okay. I just said I will put your question on, but I lied because this is like a plug. And you got to pay more than that to like get exposure. So slick, but not slick enough. $5 is not going to get me to shout out your podcast, So that's out. Let me see. Is there any employee at Barstool besides fights that you would like to start new content with? Yeah, let's see. Who would I do a show with right now? I mean, I mentioned Frankie. I mean, my guys I could do content with for sure. I could do a show with Trent. I could do a show with Frankie. I could do a show. Oh, one that I think is somewhat legitimate, possible. I would love to be an official basement boy in some capacity to do, and I guess that's not new content if I were to join My Mom's Basement, but maybe it's not that. Maybe it's some other type of show. Like if we did, if it was me, Robbie, and Clem talking, they really are more nerds than I am, but I'm pretty nerdy too from my childhood, and I like to talk about that kind of shit. So if we did like maybe that's the TV show one day, like me, Robbie, and Clem. Those are like the two guys that I feel like when I do guest appearances on My Mom's Basement, I enjoy it. It's not like it's a drag or I have to do it or I don't feel like I'm working. I'm like, let's talk about like Magic the Gathering and let's talk about Marvel cards and, let's talk about all these comics and Superman versus Batman and shit like that. So those guys for sure. I'm always down to do. I've always thought that I have more chemistry when I do shows with chicks. Like anytime I've done a solo interview with just me and a female guest, or if I do something with Kelly or the chicks in the office, I feel like there's always good chemistry there. So I could definitely see myself doing something with Kelly or any of the girls. There's a lot of people at Barstool that I feel like I also could talk to a fucking wall, man. At this point, I just know how to fucking babble. So there's a lot of people I'm interested in enough to do content with. Do you think how relatable you and fights are has to do with your success? I agree with you guys so much. Like 100 billion%, almost exclusively in a way. I used to say this. I used to have this more succinctly, but I think I used to say there's like three main things. You can either be really funny, really talented, meaning like you have like a shtick or like a bit character. You can act. You can like an actual talent that you can put out there, or relatable. Those are like the three things in my mind that are like the key to what we do. And I feel like, oh, and likability. So I guess I can't remember exactly how I used to describe it, but likability, relatability, funny, and talented. Those are kind of the three or four things you need, and you got to have two or three of them, or the fucking barstool falls over. Whatever my analogy was, and I think relatability was a huge piece of our success and my success. I reached a point when I was blogging, probably a couple years in, where I realized that my take on an issue almost always was a huge chunk of the readers agreed with me. So I just got confident where it was like, and that's why we were able to churn out so many blogs and do so much content, because it was like, show me a headline, here's my gut reaction. And within a couple years, I was confident that first reaction always had a shit ton of guys and a few girls reading it going, yep, that's true. Yep, I agree. Exactly that. So once you get confident that like everything you say, everything you fire from the hip, there's a huge chunk of people who agree with you, then you get comfortable and you start to like, what in the beginning, it's like, does anybody remember that toy from the early 90s when we were a kid that, and the commercial was this and da. And once you see that everybody, a ton of people are like, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, you get confidence that your references and your memories and the things that you did and liked are well received by everybody. Then you can just be yourself. And that's when then you just start firing, because then you just have confidence. And then, and I guess at the same time, though, I'm very polarizing because I just let it fly. For better or worse, I never thought about like catering to any one side. I actually had the realization the other day that like, I always say if I was a chick, I would just do OnlyFans. Fuck it, just make a ton of money. And then I kind of realized that the male version of that right now is just selling out and picking a political side and going nuts. And I realized that if like, had I just been like, I'm going to go hardcore conservative, I'm going to be a Trump guy, a gun guy, a MAGA guy, I could have just made so much fucking money. But I never catered to any one side politically, socially, when it comes to sports teams, when it comes to my takes on everything. Whatever I thought, I just let fly. Like, that was the one thing. I never fabricated takes. I never made shit up because I was confident enough that whatever my opinion was going to be, like I said, well received by enough people. Now, that also eventually becomes polarizing because I say, like, fuck that guy, fuck that team, fuck this person. And now the way we act is like people unfollow you or don't care or listen or anymore or whatever. It used to kind of be like, I disagree with you, but like, I still think you're funny, or I disagree with you, but that was still a well-written blog, so I still fuck with you. Now it's a little different. But so now everything's so black or white that relatability is kind of, I think it's a lot less now because people are just like, pick a side. But I think what's relatable now is being the normal person in the middle. So like, I got into it with the Rittenhouse fans a couple weeks ago because I think it's super fucking weird if you are like a diehard Kyle Rittenhouse fan. I don't think there's any reason to be. And I think it's weird if you like ride his dick. Then just a couple days ago, I think the guy at the airport narking on everybody, cinching on everybody, not wearing a mask is even a bigger fucking loser. Two completely polar opposite sides. And I think what's actually relatable is being the person in the middle who's like, all you guys are fucking weirdos. So I think that is for sure what works. I think relatability is huge. And maybe in a lot of ways for what we did early on, it was king. Being like writing those blogs where it was like, so many people were like, I feel like I am, that I feel like you are me. Like I would say that exact same thing. I would write that exact same blog. So many people being like, I could do what you do. I like hire me for Barstool because they can relate to everything we were saying. Likability is huge. And I a lot of people, when I went through my divorce and the whole scandal and cheating, a lot of people were like, oh, like your career's dead or you should have been fired because you're not going to be relatable anymore. You're not going to be likable anymore. And I like almost unfortunately for the way the world is now, it almost became more relatable. Not publicly, because a lot of people just love to shit on me publicly because of it, but privately, the amount of people I got reaching out being like, I was in the same spot, or I did the same thing, or I almost did the same thing, or my marriage was the same, whatever the situation was. As I've aged, I feel like I've always been in a pretty relatable bucket, whether it was young and single and partying and living in New York, or the type of sports fan I was, or getting older and becoming like, I was the guy who got married and was in a tough relationship, then becoming a dad, becoming a single dad. Every step of the way, there's been a big chunk of people who can relate to me and find me relatable. So I think that is paramount. That was a pretty long-winded answer, but I obviously could go on I've been thinking about that kind of shit for years on end, given everything that happened. So I got a lot to say on that. Yeah, like I got this guy, Tony Soprano, who just keeps saying over and over again, Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. Like, yeah, cool, dude. And there was a trial that proved that, and I actually agree with that. But why do you feel the need to be like, this is your personality now? That's what I think is fucking weird. I miss CCK Radio. Can we have a podcast with Jared and Casey? CCK was a blast. I loved Sirius Radio. I loved being on the radio, both doing the original Barstool Radio, doing the drive time radio. The fact that I got to do drive time New York City radio was like a dream come true. Literally a dream come true to be like technically up against Mike Francesa for a couple hours a day, or ESPN radio. That was awesome. CCK during the day was awesome. I loved having a daily radio show where I could get my thoughts out like immediately. Because if something goes, if I get in a Twitter fight or something goes viral or people are mad at me or trying to cancel me on a certain day, I always had a radio show to talk about things, because tweets get misconstrued. Tweets can only, you can't understand my intent. You can't understand my whole point. When I could hop on the radio and monologue for a bit or talk to Jared and Casey, get all my thoughts out in a coherent way, take some calls on it and kind of flesh the whole story out, I felt a lot better. Nowadays, it's like, if something goes wrong on a fucking Thursday, I'm like, shit, I got to wait until next week on a Tuesday to air the episode, the podcast about this. So that's the main thing. I mean, I love Jared and Casey, but the main thing I miss about CCK is having that daily outlet. People talked about trying to do a CCK podcast afterwards. We did it for a while. We did Best of CCK, and it was actually at one point, it was like a top 5 podcast at Barstool, just doing the best of our whole week of radio condensed into like 1-2 hour episode. But once Sirius ended, you got Jared doing baseball, Casey doing football, Jared up in Boston. It just didn't make sense to try to keep that alive with everything else that I was doing. I was spread pretty thin. And as much as I loved having a radio show every day, I also enjoyed not having that, 2-hour block every day like carved out. So miss it, but we'll probably do like a reunion here and there. We can do some specials, but I don't think they'll be like back, every day. Why somebody says YP would be another good co-host. YP was a good appearance on KFC Radio, no doubt. Anyway, you and Fights would do what you did at the old office, where you'd bring in a random Barstool person at least once a week for a segment. I think you're talking about when like Dan was phasing out and we used to bring random people in. The idea, we haven't stuck to it, but we kind of did it if you've been paying attention like the last couple months. The idea was the Thursday episode was always going to feature a Barstool personality. And I want to get back to doing that because what's funny, man, we have all these guests. We have these A-list guests now. And some of them are absolutely amazing. I think at this point I've said, I think KFC Radio, aside from Joe Rogan and some of the actual top comedians themselves who are like best friends with all these comics who can have them on at the drop of a hat, as far as like, other than like Rogan, or if you are a comic in the industry, I think KFC Radio is the premier go-to podcast for the best comics in stand-up comedy today. And I think it's even in a way better and different than those shows because we are on the outside. So we kind of take, we're going to do an interview almost as fans and not a contemporary. And like we can, the conversation is different when you're not a stand-up comic yourself. And I mean, if you look at the people that we've gotten over the last couple of years from, Segura and Burt and Whitney Cummings, I think we got Dave Attell coming up next, like other than Chappelle, Rogan himself, like Chris Rock, like we've gotten literally everybody else. So my point being that even with all those great guests, some of our biggest episodes, downloads wise, are when we have on another Barstool personality. And it's crazy. And that's what drives me nuts about Barstool not being more collaborative and cooperative. Like the way the atmosphere we set early on, the tone we set early on was competitive in a good way, where it was like, you got to be first to blog it, you got to be the funniest, got to be the best. And so we all kind of like broke off and we were all on our own channels and our own silos. But if you think about it, everybody wants to like get on Barstool's shows or get the Barstool cosign because it means so much, right? So if we have all these influential people whose opinions matter so much that other outlets want to write about us and other people want to have us on their show and other people want to come on our show to get the Barstool bump, why don't we just give ourselves the fucking Barstool bump? We have access to like dozens of the funniest fucking people on the internet and nobody ever cross-pollinates or whatever, to use one of these fucking business buzzwords. So I looked and it's like, we have on, let's say, Burt Kreischer, and we do like, 50% more downloads. I also have on fucking Nick Tarani, and we do 50% more downloads. So I was like, let's do more of this because I think the Barstool bump means more than the Outsiders because you guys love hearing from the Barstool weirdos. So we tried. I said like a few months ago, the Thursday episode will always have like a third co-host in a way. And we did it with like, we had Lil Sass on and we had Frankie on, we did Nick. And then we kind of stopped because that's what we do at That's what we do at KC Radio. We do things and then we kind of like, they fizzle out. But I'm going to try to get back on that because not only is it funny, not only is it good for the people who get to come on the show, but it's good for the downloads and the performance of the show. So yeah, we'll try to do more of that. Yeah, Nick is my favorite guest as a third mic. He is. Nick is one of those guys I was saying, like one of the most talented people out there. I think he scares me doing content with him. I feel like I'm always the butt of his joke and he's always making fun of me, but he's fucking funny. Also, shout out to Charlene. She is one of our diehard YouTube subscribers and viewers. And while I mentioned that, like, I know the podcast has been audio for so long, and maybe I'm preaching to the choir here because you're all watching on YouTube and subscribed already, but YouTube and watching the podcast is the future. It's so much funnier when you put a face to it all and you see our reactions. Watching the podcast is that much better and will help the podcast that much more in the future. I understand you like to do it on your commute or when you're at the gym or when you're at your desk working and you can't watch, but if you can, listen to some during the day and watch some at night, or subscribe to the channel just to help us out. Watch it every now and then to get the views up. It means everything. And that, I mean, KFC Radio was originally on YouTube and we took it off because they wanted the audio to perform, and I understand why. And then we had to use an internal player at times to keep paying the bills, so we couldn't put things on YouTube. But for years, I was like, we got to do a podcast. And for years, I was like, it's got to be on YouTube. And now we're finally on board with that. And it's like, well, that was basically a decade of growth that I could have been having. So we're playing catch up, and we got the 100,000 subscribers on the horizon. So if you could tell your friends, you guys are all obviously subscribed. If you're watching and not subscribed, fuck you. Please just log in with your Gmail, click subscribe. That's it. Just click a button. You never have to worry about it again. It's minorly inconveniences you. And it is like, I can't even describe how important it is for us to thrive at work. So please just fucking do it. And shout out to people like Charlene who do. Any advice to someone trying to get hired by Barstool? Classic question. The answer is always basically the same. Make content. Pretend that you already work at Barstool, because that's how the internet works. Just pretend you work at Barstool. So if you think you can do your own 1 minute man type of thing, just fucking do it. I had a story on our KFC Radio Instagram today. I was doing like a takeover, like a little behind the scenes, and I was like, here's, today's topic was Jay-Z. Here's how I do it. I sit here. I had this shitty fucking desk that's broken. It wobbles. I sit on this chair in a room. Look, see how I'm just floating away? Because I sit in a shitty apartment with crooked floors. I hung a couple things up. I put my initials up there so people know who I am. I hung some of my fucking kids' shitty artwork. And I got this ring light from Best Buy. It was $120. And I just put my phone in it, and I do 1 minute man from there. And actually, before I had a ring light, I used to just stack up sneaker boxes and balance my phone and point it at me and do 1 minute man. And we did 550 million views this year with a fucking ring light and an iPhone. That's all it takes. So you can do that right now. And you put it out there. You try to grow and get traction, but that's how you catch eyeballs. If you send it to people and you say, like, look, here's my example of 1 minute man, or here's my own thing. And that's your resume. We don't care what your actual resume is. Your resume is your work. I wouldn't recommend doing podcasts. I think podcasting is over as far as new podcasts go. I don't think people are adding it to the rotation. I don't think that long form audio conversations is like the new wave. It's still bread and butter. It's still a cash cow, but I don't think it's new and cutting edge. I think that short form video, like 1 minute man, original content, they are rewarding original content so much on the video platforms, the short form original content, because we reached a point where Instagram was just all aggregators. They were all meme accounts. They were all just aggregating funny viral videos, putting them out, getting all the reviews on other people's content, and racking up millions of followers and making money that way. They have since pushed so much of their attention towards online content creators. That's why we did 1 minute man. I did 1 minute man back in like 2017, I think, on Facebook. They changed their algorithm. The views went away, so I stopped doing it. But then Instagram said, we are rewarding. We really want new original content creators. So like, if you got any of those, do that. So we revived 1 minute man, and obviously like it blew up, it worked. And now that's, I think, the focus. If you can start a TikTok account, start an Instagram account that is quick, short form video content, I feel like that is the easiest thing to do now, that you can display like your talent and your worth. Let me tell you something real quick. The Instagram algorithm right now is bananas. They want you to do reels so bad because you're competing with TikTok. If you put out reels on the Barstool platform right now, instantly 1 million views. Like multi-millions. Like my biggest reels, my biggest 1 minute mans ever. Almost 6 million views on the Jackson Mahomes one. like 4 million views on the one I did about the fake viral video. I put out the Jay-Z one today. I'm expecting millions more. Like right now, the algorithm is drunk trying to get people to do reels and rewarding the original content. So do it, get some of those views, get noticed by somebody here, and they'll be like, yeah, this is what we fucking need. Let me see. I'm going to try to find. Whose Barstool career has surprised you the most? Surprised is a condescending word. I think inherently sounds like you're kind of like talking shit. And I certainly don't mean it in this way, but Brianna's has been like the most like shocking to watch in the sense of, I guess it's not when you see who she is. It's like, oh yeah, she's like kind of like the new Alex Cooper, but I think with a way different avenue and a much more relatable, likable persona, but like filling that role with the girls. But when she started, I was like, let me check out her TikTok. And it was her like hungover and partying and shit. And I was like, all right, cool. Like pretty girl doing drinking shit, and that'll work. And then I had her on Friday Night Pints, and she very quickly could pick up on the conversation. She didn't even say much. It wasn't like she came on Friday Night Pints and she took over the show and she was like the funniest and had the mic and was like, holding court. But that almost was why I knew she was good, because she was kind of like, all right, I'm new here. These guys are going to run the show. But she jumped in at the right points and had like really funny like remarks when she did get involved. Then I hosted Surviving Barstool and saw that she was like very confident. Like that's fucking scary to do Surviving Barstool, period. Let alone as a rookie, like brand new person, no friends, nobody knows you. And now you're going to be put on a reality show where they're going to for sure edit you to look controversial or maybe make you look like an asshole. And there's a lot of pitfalls to doing something like that. And she like made it through to almost the finals and became like a superstar there. And then I just watched from there. It was like meteoric rise. I think she's going to be the biggest thing, maybe at Barstool soon enough outside of like Dave. She is like that chick. So I think going from what I thought was like just drunk TikToks to, a one woman corporation, one woman merch business, double podcast. I think anybody who can do a solo podcast is very impressive. So that one was a big one. Yeah, I think she would take the cake there. Speaking of Surviving Barstool, I'm trying to find it. Nick just texted me that we got a couple questions about Surviving Barstool, particularly from our girl Riley, but I'm trying to find them here. So can you just text it to me, Nick, what the question was? There it is. Okay. Will Surviving Barstool season 2 happen? And can I do my 1 minute recaps again? Yes, and yes, Riley. Surviving Barstool will be happening. Season 2, we're going to do it in January, so it's coming up. I can't believe it's only been a year since Surviving Barstool. I can't believe that was in 2021. Right? Yeah, the same year. I mean, that's wild to me. I got like this kind of like Backstreet Boys, Nick Carter, 90s heartthrob, Sean Hunter type of part going on right now. Not great. Surviving Barstool was awesome. Surviving Barstool is kind of like a dream of mine. Like I often think about down the road because I can't be fucking 60 years old, 55 years old doing the same type of podcast I can. I hope to always be in the broadcast game somehow, but I can't be talking about the same subject matter once my kids get older and I'm older. It's just creepy, right? You don't want to be an old man talking to young people about young people topics, right? So I always think about hosting things like that. Like if I could get into full-time hosting, reality TV shows, dating shows, internet versions of that, I love that. And being able to do Surviving Barstool, and I'm not like a diehard Survivor guy, which I like because I'm not just trying to be Jeff Probst. I'm kind of coming in with like a different angle, and I bring my own personality to it. And we're cursing and talking shit, and we bring like our own vibe to it. So I think Surviving Barstool. I think that going back to like my original question, what am I most proud of? What piece of content am I most proud of? I might say Surviving Barstool because that started. We went to sales with an idea for KFC Radio, where we were going to just do like a KFC Radio Survivor thing. And then it kind of morphed into involving Tommy. And it was like, Tommy, you come up with the challenges and John and I are going to, it was like just a KFC Radio thing. And then some of our salespeople were like, no, this is a big idea. This could have legs. and we created the game show. But even then, it was still just supposed to be a Super Bowl, New Amsterdam vodka, like sponsored content. And what it became was like the most watched, streamed live content we have ever done at the time. We were doing like 50,000 live viewers a night. And I remember sending a text message to everyone involved, people who won, people who lost, production, all that. I was like, we just pulled off a 5-night reality TV show out of nowhere. That it was content that didn't rely on Dave. It didn't involve Dan. It was a bunch of people all on, on a tier below who all came together and created like the most viewed thing we did on our YouTube channel, all year long. So I was really very proud of that, kind of being what, how about this? John says he opened this up just to be a supportive partner and he's still watching. He's really enjoying himself. It's amazing how much I can just fucking talk to nobody. So Riley, and yes, we'll be doing it, and you can get you can do your 1-minute recaps. The after shows were the most fun part. John would be blacked out, and I would have all this inside info as the host, and we would just have we were just shooting the shit about how dumb White Sox Dave was and how Tommy deserved to lose. The after shows are almost more fun than the regular shows. I've always wondered if 1 Minute Man is off the top of your head, or do you writing it before each episode before you hit record? No writing for that. So like I said, I just put the phone in the ring light and I just go. And if it's a topic that I am really well versed on and really confident in and know all the details and have my take ready to go, I can do it in one take. Like it is just like a minute long. I try to just keep it to a minute now because, as I described, the reels explode, like the views on reels if you keep it under a minute. And now if you go over a minute, they kind of suppress it. So I just try to keep it short and sweet. And if I really know the topic, I can do it in one take. That's very, 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 very rare. I would say like 1 out of like 25 is one take. So I'll start and I'll be like, so Jay-Z was on a Twitter space today for Alicia Keys' new album, where one of the people on the panel asked him a question about verses, and then I'll stumble and I'll fumble and I'll fuck up and I go back and I start over again. And then, then I get that part right and I introduce some of the meat and potatoes of it. And then I, give my take with a joke. And then I try to put in another, plot twist. This girl got involved and said this. And if I fuck that up, I kind of go back to like the middle part where I'm like, all right, I've already got the first half done. I don't have to redo the whole thing. I'll just start from the middle again. And I send that off to super producer BC, who then chops it all up and kind of condenses it down to a minute. But we've done them. I mean, I've done 1 Minute Mans that were 10 minutes. I've done mostly they fell in like the 3 to 4 minute range. It's tough to do it in under a minute because a lot of times topics are more nuanced than just a 60-second take. And really it's like 50, 55 seconds if you want to include the ad. So sometimes I'm like, people are going to kill me because they're going to say like, but KFC, you didn't even think about XYZ. And it's like, no, I did, but that's not as important as this other shit. And I can only do 60 seconds. So I got to leave it out. That's what I miss most about doing like the 3 and 4 minute ones is I can explain both sides of it. I can explain my take and why I believe this, but don't worry. I understand the other side of it, all that shit. 60 seconds really is just like hot takes. Like, let's go. But no, never written. Always just kind of freestyled off the top of my head. But that's not to say that there's not multiple takes because I do fuck up names or get information wrong. Or like I come up with a joke halfway through. I'm like, oh, I should have said that instead. So it's a freestyle, but it's kind of a work in progress. How should I wash my Viva hoodie? If you're talking about this one, I know this sounds ridiculous, and I don't want to sound bougie here. I would fucking dry clean this thing. This is one of the best pieces of clothing you'll ever fucking wear. So don't wash it and ruin it. Just keep that good, soft Sherpa-ness intact forever. Otherwise, and this also blows people's minds, I wash my hoodies. I send all my clothing out to Wash and Fold. Wash and Fold is the best. What am I trying to say here? It's the best return on investment of all time. It's like whatever cents a pound. It's like 60 cents a pound. I have 20 pounds of laundry and I'm going to do it for like $15. It's fucking amazing. So I send all my shit out, but I keep all my hoodies. And I wash my hoodies at home and I air dry them. I just hang them on fucking the back of chairs and hang them on furniture and hang them up on hooks. And then they don't shrink. So machine wash cold, don't dry, air dry them. Or if you really want to make sure, dry clean them. Or just don't fucking wash them at all. Which is kind of grimy, but if you put a t-shirt underneath it, it's not a big deal. But don't come. Thank God the quilted era is over. Oh my God, the quilted shrunk so fucking bad every time. And I had people, it was almost funny how much the quilted shrunk. You would start with like a grown man's hoodie and it would come out like a little fucking baby onesie. It was like some Back to the Future shit where it just like shrunk everything down. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids t-shirt, a hoodie version. But that era was a nightmare. I was always saying, in my sleep, order a size up. Machine wash cold, don't dry. Machine wash cold, order a size up, don't dry. It's a fucking nightmare. If you could turn into one of three animals for only 2 days at a time, what three animals do you choose? Got to be cliche and pick a dog off the top. They are domesticated. They are loved. You know, even if you were to break free and be wild, you're going to get pets. You're going to get food. You'll get shelter. People love you. I also would have to pick an eagle because I want the ability to fly. I would love to be able to just be like, caw, fly to where I want to be and then boop, like return into a human and boom, my commute is all easy peasy lemon squeezy. So a dog, an eagle, and there was an animal I came across the other day that I've never heard of, which is kind of weird. I was like, how am I 36 years old and just finding out about this animal that exists? That's kind of crazy, right? I would think that I would know almost all well-known animals, you know? Like, of course, there's fucking animals in the fucking rainforest I don't know. But there was like a regular animal. I was like, I've never even heard of that. Anyway, my last animal. Fuck it, I'll just go cliche in the moment and say lion, be king of the jungle for a moment. Or maybe monkey. Monkeys are kind of cool. Shout out to my dad's monkey, Deadeye, the one-eyed monkey, whose neighbor's dog ate. If you don't know that one, that's a tale for the ages. I'm going to have to think on my third animal, but Legion of Skanks appearance again. Absolutely. If you are a Legion of Skanks fan, tag them, let them know. I would love to go back on there. Louis J. Gomez and Dave Smith and Big J. I love them. They are the last bastion, the last hope of don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck, man. I thought I don't give a fuck, and I went on there and I was like, you guys don't give a fuck. It's amazing what they still say and do and get away with, and it feels like I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm back in 2010 again. I feel home. It's amazing. I can't wait. Like, it sucks when I got more to lose now, money and bills and kids and shit, so I can't say what I want to say a lot of times. But man, when you find a place where you can say it and you're not judged, it's like, oh, this is fucking great. But I feel like if I go on there and I say what I want to say, I get canceled because I'm Barstool. But man, let them know. I would love to go back. I thought you killed it on Barstool Survivor. I know Jeff D'Lo is the resident game show host, but anything similar lined up for you? As I mentioned that Barstool Survivor will be coming back. I did want to do. There was a time where I wanted to do a game show, Barstool game show, Barstool Jeopardy, and Pat McAfee joined up, and he did something like that. But I believe, and no disrespect, not talking out of school, but I think it was kind of a mess. I think it was a disaster. And it turned a lot of like sales and Barstool people off to doing a game show. But I always really thought that I could do a great like Barstool Jeopardy type thing. And then Jeff came along and did the dozen, which obviously is a smash hit. I still think that there's room for maybe. I always thought there'd be a cool game show that it's like like about Barstool, like a Barstool game show that has like 2 bloggers and a fan, or 2 fans and a blogger, or is 3 fans, but your lifeline is a Barstool blogger, something like that. We also kicked around a few game show ideas, which I think they've ended up like making some of them. There was one called like For Love or For Money. And we had people, we were going to have gay people and straight people in the mix. And you have to, when you first sign up, you pick whether you're here for love or for money. And at the end, you have to stick with what you said. So if you said you were here for money, but you fell in love with someone, like, doesn't matter. At the end, you don't get them. All this shit. And you had to pick, like, you had to suss out who was straight and who was gay, all this shit. So we kicked around a bunch of ideas. We have since done none. I also had an idea, and let me know if this would work. I think that there is room. When we did Surviving Barstool, what I thought was so interesting, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, because this is what happens on regular game shows and reality shows, rather. People become fans of certain competitors. It's like, I'm Team Tommy, I'm Team Brianna, I'm Team Nick. So much so that they, like, love them. And we saw when Nick lost, but people wanted him to win, they all sent money to his Venmo, and he ended up getting more money, I believe, or similar money to the prize, even though he lost. And that got my wheels spinning, where I was thinking, and if you're a game show producer watching this fucking AMA, let's do this idea. Would you guys be down with a show where you would, I don't exactly know how it would work, but as the show goes, you would Venmo money to a pot based on your favorite person. So Kelly Keegs wins a challenge, and she had a really funny episode. So you're like, I want $5 to go to the pot because I want Kelly Keegs to win this in the end. So in the name of Kelly Keegs, I'm putting $5 into the grand prize, hoping that she'll win it and go home with that money. And so you get a bunch of people doing that, and the Venmo really adds up. But then there's a voting off element where, you know, you might donate to that person, they get voted off, now they can't win anymore. But you don't want to vote off a person who might inspire a lot of donations, because you want the pot to be as big as it could be. So it's like, fuck, I hate Kelly, and I think she might win this, so I got to get rid of her, but not before we get all those donations, so that the prize pot is big enough for me. But all of this is all predicated upon if the fans would donate $1 or $5 or get some crazy people like $100, because I think that could be a mega viral thing if the pot gets big enough, where all of Barstool's donating money, and it's like, we've got these bloggers competing in an office, and the grand prize is up to like $500,000 and growing. So I kicked around a bunch of ideas like that. It's kind of hard when it's like, I got 2 podcasts, 3 video shows, 1 Minute Man, and a partridge in a pear tree. But I would love, like I said earlier, to do more hosting. Let me go down. Why do you think you're good at eating box? Why are you bad at eating box, Stephanie? I can't believe people aren't good at eating pussy. There's not any like key to it. Like when you suck dick, if you can deep throat, or there's like a skill to it. Even that though, I'm like, just get down there and make a fucking mess. Make it as sloppy as can be, and the guy's gonna be happy. It's kind of the same thing with eating pussy. It's like, there's the clit. Just like lick it a ton. Really, like, vigorously, and don't stop. Get your fingers involved. Just fucking get in there. I don't know. I don't think it's hard. And I've always gotten good feedback, so I don't know what these guys are doing wrong. When is the KFC Radio NFT coming? As soon as I fucking figure out how to do this NFT shit. I think the first wave of NFTs are kind of coming to an end. I think the first wave was like, we're going to make cute animals that we hope people like the pictures of them. And we're going to hope that a social media influencer changes their profile picture to our logo, and then we hope it explodes, and we have this fake money to earn. I did crazy koalas for a while, because the hoodies that I made with the koalas, the Koality hoodie, I think is awesome. I think it looks like an Alec Monopoly hoodie. I think it looks like street art, streetwear with like graffiti art and shit like that. So I was down to try to, like, all right, I'll throw my name behind this koala thing, because there was the apes and the monkeys and the lions are all blowing up. Like, why not koalas? But I think that's kind of coming to an end, and the next round of NFTs are coming, where I think there's got to be a lot more utility behind it. So I'm hoping and thinking that we can do like a KFC Radio NFT, where it's like, if you purchase this, yeah, you're the owner of one of our best highlights. Like, let's say you own the video of the voicemail about the guy coming in his hand all the time that everybody loves, right? Or the video of Dan chasing Stella, or Feidelberg doing his heirlooms tomato rant about Tom Brady, whatever. You own that. But also, let's say if you're the owner of it, that means you get like other perks. You get early access to our tickets, or you get some of our merch or something, where it's like, yeah, you're buying this thing in exchange for something good and it's NFT related. I don't know though. I want to do it. I wish we were doing it more at Barstool. But as soon as we figure out how to, we'll really do it. When are you and John coming to Chicago for a live show? Probably very soon. So right now we have 2 tickets on sale. We have a second show at the Wilbur. Shout out to Boston. We sold out our first Wilbur show in a matter of minutes. 1,000 tickets gone, 1,100 tickets, whatever it is. The second show is like 700 tickets sold. So we're going to sell that out. It's in March, St. Patrick's Day weekend in Boston. So that second show will sell out. We also have tickets on sale to Nashville at Zany's for the Comedy Festival in Nashville in April. Thursday night, April 21st, I believe it is. But also on the list, we got to go do Philly and we got to go do Chicago as 2 of our like main hotspots of listeners. So it's coming soon. And I'm hoping that we get a Boston-esque turnout. So Chicago, you want us to come, put your money where your mouth is. We're going to try to find a theater. Let's hopefully do like 1,000 people. And I want to add a show or 2 and blow it out for you guys. So make sure that if we do put the tickets on sale, you guys turn up for us. Right now, if you go to Linktree for KFC Radio Live, you go to any of our social media, there's links. You can buy those tickets. We're at an hour now, so I'll do a few more. I could do this like fucking forever, but do you think you have real business world experience? Do you think you have real business world experience is what makes you seemingly one of the only people at Barstool that understands what people like and how to grow? Do you think having real business experience? No, I don't know, maybe. Saying that I have like real world business experience at this point is starting to get a little silly because it was so long ago. I mean, I did 4 to 5 years of, low level Deloitte and Touche accounting when I got out of college. I got my MBA. I did that quickly, and I did some Cube Monkey work. And now I've been doing Barstool for 15 years. So like at what point, we can't be referencing this cup of coffee I had in the accounting world anymore as like business experience. But I do think, I did get the MBA. I took a couple classes on some business shit. I do think, I don't think it has to do with work or schooling more than it has to do with like a general awareness and being interested in the internet and like where things are going and what trends are happening and what I like about, like I have a genuine interest in it. So I know where I want it to go and I want to be a part of it. And so I pour myself into it. And I follow all these people and I read up on it and I kind of have my like finger on the pulse of it all. And then we're also kind of like the guinea pig at KFC Radio. Like I always want to be first on these things. We were first to podcasting. We were pushing for YouTube first. We started our own app with Answer the Internet. We jumped on Clubhouse right away. We were trying to like make sure we didn't miss that. Now Clubhouse didn't really end up being the thing, but I believe we have a Spotify type show coming that was born out of our Clubhouse foray. So like what I've learned is, 1 Minute Man was resurrected over here and we take the Clubhouse thing and we could bring it over here. And there's really no such thing as failure, all that kind of corny shit. But I think just being self-aware and taking an interest in what other people like, you can't be like a total narcissist. You got to be pretty narcissistic to do this show, to do this world. At the end of the day, you got to be pretty confident that people want to hear from you and you want to hear yourself talk. But I also take a genuine interest and try to watch, like, what do other people like? And yeah, I don't like fucking TikTok dances. And I don't like what some of these like Gen Z kids are doing, but that's what people like and that's where it's going. So how can we get involved and how can we be a part of it? And I also just think I genuinely like, as much as I hate, and I'm known as the hater, I genuinely like a lot of the people here. I love a lot of the new kids. I love watching and helping them grow. So it's more just, I think, my like general disposition than real world experience, if you will. Yeah, I know you mentioned before you miss writing and it doesn't get exposure or clicks, but I really miss clicking on a KFC blog and enjoy the shit out of the next 20 minutes. I don't want to make any promises or anything, but like, I feel like if there comes a time where I'm not at Barstool or have more freedom or more ways to make money or whatever, I know that they kind of do Patreon for writing. I can't remember the name of the platform right now. But I mean, I hate the idea of putting my writing behind a paywall, but it just makes it more feasible and possible if it's like, if you really do enjoy it that much, can you pay a couple bucks a month to read these blogs? Because then I can take, an hour, 2 hours here out of my day to write this blog when it's like, if you think about if I can do a podcast in an hour or two and we can fill that with like 5 or 6 ad reads at, a couple grand a pop or whatever the going rate is. It's a lot of money for those 2 hours versus a blog where back in the day, we all used to blog. We would get a couple million clicks and you have all your banner ads and shit. Money would come in. But as far as a direct return on investment for content for money, blogging just wasn't it. But if there's a time where I'm a free agent or I'm working where or we can do something like that where there's like outside revenue streams outside of Barstool, if there was something where I can't remember that Patreon shit. But you know what Patreon is. So if there was a Patreon for writing and would people contribute to that, I could probably do it more. It sucks because it's just by far my best talent. It's the thing that I think I'm best at. I think I was like the best to ever do it back when I was blogging. I think I can write better on the internet as far as I can give you just short form funny shit. I can also give you long form important shit. I just think I was like the best to ever do it in my mind. And I think I still can, but it's just a matter of like committing that time. And so it sucks. And I wouldn't like to charge for blogs, but it's also like, fuck. It's just, unfortunately, it's kind of like the way of how it all works. But never say never. It'll be back in some form or another. Also, by the way, like 1 Minute Man is a blog in audio form, video form. And I get that it's different. I'm much more likable and relatable and enjoyable in writing. I get that. I don't know if it's my fucking face or my accent or my excitability, but I know that when people read a blog, they were like, this is fucking amazing. KFC's great. And then when we transferred to audio and video, there was definitely a bunch of people who were kind of like, oh, I don't like him as much anymore because of whatever. They don't like the way I look or talk or how I act. But it was the same words. It's like if you were laughing at that joke, it was like, I just typed it out over here. I just said it over here. I think I got much better at audio. And I think then like video was my last talent to kind of round out. And I still think I'm like a work in progress there. But if you like the writing that much, you theoretically should like the other stuff because it's just audio blogs and video blogs. Let's do a couple more here because I am starting to burn out here. Let's go to the very bottom. I don't know what this means. This dude just gave us $20 and it says super sticker. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, Jacob. I don't know if there's a question that's connected to that. I think I'll just leave you up the whole time. Everybody give some love to Jacob Schneider. If you want to give us $20. Oh, it just said thanks for getting me through a tough year. So thank you, dude. It always surprises me the amount of people at live shows or literally in the streets when people like stop and ask for a picture or in the DMs and messages. I feel like a lot of people will tell me like, you got me through a really tough day. You got me through a tough time in my life. I sometimes straight up being like I was suicidal or I went through a divorce or I went through a breakup or I got laid off or I got sick or whatever. And it's always very surprising because like the shit that we do at the end of the day is just fucking goofing around. As we've been saying to start off the podcast, like we are here to fuck around. We are here for the fuckery. And the amount of people that are like, it really means a lot is crazy. And it's awesome that way. Cause it's like, all right, we'll keep fucking around and it keeps meaning a ton to you guys. Like, sounds good. So, my pleasure to get you through a tough year. Thanks for the sticker. Jacob, I think it was on ASL when we did the Clubhouse dating show game thing. So, shout out to you too for being involved in that fucking fiasco. Is KFC Radio ever going to come to the West Coast? Yes, eventually. John texted me the other day saying, do you think that our desire to have a full-blown live tour is directly related to coronavirus? Because the first time we had a 25 city tour ready to go at the beginning of coronavirus, like that February and March. And we were about to launch it like that week when Rudy Gobert was touching things and everything got shut down. And I remember saying, well, maybe this is a good thing because we'll just say fuck it and we'll do it anyway, and we'll be the only live show in town, and people will have to come to our show thinking that we were going to like be allowed to like go against the government or whatever. So that obviously shut it down. And then we were on the verge, like we've obviously been ramping up the live shows and adding more dates, and along comes Omicron or whatever. So we will get there eventually. Let's do 2 more. Seems like a lot of talk about leaving Barstool, becoming free agent, or you're not happy there. No, I'm just saying, like, it's the first time that, like, I think that we're coming, the Barstool that we knew, and that first era of Barstool kind of comes to an end when, like, the equity vests for me. And I would love, I want to make it clear, I want to be there as long as Barstool will have me and pay me and continue to give me the freedom. I'm all about it. But when people are asking questions about, like, post Dave and Dan and Penn coming in, and like we can be honest that it's a new company and a different thing. And the idea of like people being at Barstool, everybody that comes to Barstool is at Barstool for life, is just not totally realistic. So like if I could work there forever, if it all works out, gravy. But you know, the idea of being there for 50 years until I'm dead is you know, probably not realistic. So at some point, the thought of being you know, either not there or being involved in multiple things, not just strictly Barstool. Like I want to kind of experience and try to do like all of that if possible, but definitely not unhappy by any means. There's nowhere else on the internet that just lets you do what you want. And at the end of the day, that will trump everything for me. If there's any discrepancies about money or treatment or whatever else could come up, at the end of the day, the thought of going somewhere and then being like, well, you can't say that, you can't do this, and we don't want you doing that. Like I could literally never fucking do that. So that will always be most important. Let's do not a question, but just, you know, shout out to Levi. Trauma therapy that we're helping you get through, like amazing. Love that. Like that is so cool to hear that. That is really why we do like what we do at the end of the day. My man, Gabe, thank you for being that dude. Thank you for being the one of our best listeners and best supporters out there. You really, I mean, guys, you do not have to send the money. Very appreciative if you do. But just clicking the links and watching the shows and downloading everything and buying the merch and all that is really the best way to support us. So thank you for that. Let's see. I think that's really it. Any last words here? I'm seeing if there's any. Did the yak ruin Dana Beer's career by exposing him as a butt chugger? Oddly enough, I think it propelled him even further. I think being a butt chugger guy is directly on brand. No, I mean shit. All right. I say we wrap it up here. I'm just scrolling to see if there's any last get O'Malley on the pod. Yes, for sure. Brianna's chick, O'Malley, Grace, she will for sure be on KFC Radio. And that's probably a person, if there was going to be a third chair, it would probably be that bitch. She's a wild one. So she will be on there, no doubt. All right. We're going to wrap it up there. So thank you to everyone. I think we had like a steady like 500 people the whole time. It didn't seem like it had dipped ever really. So to everybody who watched all 1 hour and 13 minutes, thank you. I'm always surprised and stunned to find out how much you guys really care about the shit that I got to say. So we did this originally as a, you know, like I said, 70,000 subscribers, but I don't think there's any reason to make it only be a subscriber benchmark reward dangling carrot sort of thing. So I think we'll do this every now and then. So maybe once a month or something, we'll sit down and do an AMA and we can chop it up and answer some questions, do some inside Barstool stuff and learn more about, you know, how things work at the stool. So maybe I'll see you in late January for another one and we can do it with other members of the team and whatnot. Shout out to Nick and Pavs and Jackie and Zach and Fights and everybody at the KFC Radio team making it happen. I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. I'll be honest, it's mortifying and embarrassing to not have 6 figures. So tell your friends, or if you got a Gmail, log in and subscribe. It helps so much. And I will be able to sleep at night knowing that we have 6 figures because it's fucking so embarrassing to not. So do me that favor. You don't need to send money. You don't need to say thank you. Just subscribe and push it out to your friends. And I'll see you guys next time for another AMA.